everyone too, and welcome to your textured hair demonstration. So her curl pattern is pretty tight. I don't know what number that would actually be, but the same technique could be used for this one, but if you can actually follow a chunk of hair, you will. For her, I can follow a couple of them and actually see them laying on top of each other. So I'll kind of refer to this picture back and forth. Not very often do I get people with this type of hair, but the process is the same for this type of hair. All right, so this is the funnest hair to do. It's also the easiest. It doesn't seem like it, but it is. So I'm looking for the darker areas. So like all in here, here, here. I am gonna kind of fade out into a lighter value there. And then I'll probably add my first layer of the contour kind of outline. Okay, so I am on padding with 6B pencil. And you're gonna, it's called scumbling. So scumbling is when it's controlled scribbling. So for hers, let's say I have this piece that kind of comes down, a piece that comes up. So I have a line to follow that I've drawn. So I'm gonna kind of like, it's controlled scribbling, and then here, I can actually see a curl. So if I do this big, it's kind of circular, but I'm also kind of going some little pieces in between at like a smaller scale. So, oh, that's what that is. It's a negative space. That's what I was trying to figure out when I was. It's a negative space just showing through the hair. All right, I'll just throw a background in there. Okay. And this layer does not have to be perfect. We're just trying to get like the first layer of texture. And there I'm using more of the tip of my pencil. This is her ear. Whoops, I did not shade her ear. I apologize. Okay, so I'm going to take more, and I am holding it towards the tip of the pencil so I can use more pressure, but I still want to use the side of the graphite. Okay, so now I'm looking at, and I already value mapped her hair, so I can kind of tell where my darker kind of values are along the edges. So I'm doing that same kind of motion, but using the side of my pencil. And here it's darker. So I am pressing quite a bit to get this to be the value that I need it to be. So in here I'm going to kind of fade out. And so the first layer is the most important layer. I'm going to take your time and do a really good first layer. And I'm going to do put the dark values in there and then go over them again, just because I don't want to have to go back over them a whole lot in the next layers. The more you do the first round, the better it will look. And then the little baby hairs and edges, just wait for that. It's in the next part. So hers kind of has a direction, like you can see like where the chunks of hair are coming up into the top of her head. So if you can actually see direction, try to scribble like in that direction. I'm not going to do her whole head for you because that would take a while, but I'm going to get you started. She has this chunk of hair overlapping here. I'm going to go around that chunk of hair because it's lighter. can probably add a layer. And see some direction in there. So if you were doing this hair, it's a little bit bigger. So I'm kind of like, and hers has more direction to it. So I kind of do go over the direction. Twitch your arm, twitch your hand a little bit so you can follow along the chunks of hair. And then you can kind of put in some lines because you can see some of her strands of hair mixed in with the texture. Okay, now overlapping. So I'm going to do a layer, but I'm not going to do a perfect layer because I'm going to perfect that in the last layer. And I would just go into the border. Show some darker value happening. And if you see stuff that you didn't add, like if this darker value that connects, which I did not add, and add it in. All right, so I'm looking at how this fades in. Okay, so this kind of meets in this darker underlayer value here. Do a little bit like for her hairline, just a little. Okay. If you have to take a break, this does kind of hurt your arm a little bit. I'm looking at this one. Kind of comes in. Comes in here. It's kind of hard because like I don't have the grid that tells me like where it cut off, so I'm trying to think of like how much did I actually draw of this? And did I miss negative spaces? I think there was like a negative space that comes down, but maybe not. Okay. Okay, so let me just finish this part and then, and if you can see like here, I can kind of see some waviness. So I am using the side of my pencil, like here. I can kind of see like the edge, so I'd put that in. Okay, with the big blender, super gently, you're gonna kind of like not full on blend because you're gonna lose all of this detail that we just spent time. You're gonna kind of touch blend. I'm gonna go over the dark parts first. Okay. Then with the medium blender, I'm gonna go back over the dark parts again. Actually, I need to, I was trying to go around her ear. Let me add. I feel like this piece does come down a little further. I'm getting a clean line right there next to her ear and her face. Kind of refining as I go. So I'm not pressing very hard because I don't want to lose the texture that we've added, because especially if you spent like a good amount of time doing all that, we don't want to lose it. And I'm doing the same kind of scumbling motion but I am filling in white. Like I really don't want white showing. You're not old yet. Just wait. So again, kind of going over the dark areas at the same time again. Okay, so now I'm gonna get a little closer to our face. I'm gonna blend in the hairline a little bit. We'll come back and do little edges, baby hairs. Okay, so really good first layer is important. Not only are you value mapping it, but you're getting that base layer of texture. I'm just gonna kind of some white showing in there. So I'm gonna be a little careful when I get closer to her face. I'm using less pressure. Kind of start to blend in with her skin. And so if you find like I was trying to do some bigger circles, my arm is getting tired. I just did curly hair right before this. So take a break, come back, do it well the first time. Okay, let me touch blend this stuff over here. Like this part comes down a little bit more, like this part comes down. Okay, next layer, off padding, 6B pencil. I'm gonna go over my darks again. And I'm also looking for like, do I see any definite kind of shapes to edges that I can kind of add in? Like she has this chunk here. So I can get like that edge showing in there, this side of that. Okay, you're gonna do another good layer. So I get my darks in and I'm gonna space out my, cause she has like a lot of highlights actually. I'm gonna space out my scumbling and I am gonna start like looking at what the ends look like. Perfecting some of those ends. And we'll probably take some mechanical in some of those areas. Okay. So notice that I'm holding it closer to the tip, but I'm still using the side of the pencil. Okay, so I'm not going to press very hard up in here because this is where the light is hitting more at the top of her head. And I'm going to space it out a little bit more, but I am also looking for like, okay, like I left out some darker values, so. Okay, so like a definite shape there. Okay, so for her it's darker. darker in here, and then it kind of fades into that chunk, but darker underneath. I'm gonna try to keep that piece. So I'm gonna kind of go, you guys get it. Okay, so I'll do all that. All right, then with medium blender, I'm gonna kind of do that same, but I'm not gonna press very hard. I'm just trying to kind of smudge out just a little bit. We wanna keep the layers of texture so it looks like depth or dimension to the hair. We're almost ready to start erasing out. And then we'll do one more layer of bringing back the darks. Bring back the dark. And edges. Okay, so do that with the whole head. Okay. Blend over everything. All right, so then I like this pink eraser, but if it's not very sharp, you might have to just use mechanical eraser, like mine's getting dull from all the hair demonstrations. So I'm gonna do the same motion, but with eraser. And if you use mechanical, you might have to kind of wipe it off a little bit occasionally. So I'm kind of like pressing hard. Let me see, will this one work? I don't know. Yeah, I still like this one. I feel like I can get more detail with it. And so if you see shape of like, or a certain curl kind of fading in that you can follow it along. And so in general, it's just lighter. And we were going to do another layer of darkening, so she definitely has like too much range of value happening. Okay, now I'm gonna put it back on. Actually, some of her edges I'm gonna do with mechanical pencil, like where it's growing out. And kind of sweeping little line into, and then you can kind of see her. I feel like that comes down a little bit. This is actually edges all right in here. Going up into the hair. So I'm going to touch over that, the blender, just to soften. So yes, with mechanical you'll do edges and then I do ends. Edges and ends. And kind of go back and make the ends of the curls. But you can actually kind of see some of the curls fading in on that top layer. Look for some of the chunks on the top, like I could follow that curl in. So that's how this one, like you would erase out this top layer and then you would pull it, like follow in and follow into the dark parts. So with mechanical, I'm going to kind of refine some of the edges that fade in. Just like some pieces sticking out of the side, overlapping into the negative space. Okay, so I'm going to add edges and ends, edges and ends. Okay. If you want to do a whole layer with mechanical, you can. Probably take forever. But, I mean, it looks really good. I mean, honestly, like, if this were my self-portrait, I would probably spend the time doing that. But I'm going to do a quick layer with 6B and then see where else I can use the mechanical. So I feel like in some of these areas I just need to get darker overall. So I did put it back on padding, and then this layer I'm not going to blend. So I really want to make sure I've gotten the value that I need for the depth and dimension. And I am pressing hard. Like, that's why my hand is like really close to the end of the pencil. And you can keep layering. Like, I could blend again, I could erase that again, I can add another layer again. But I feel like I tell you guys to do that and then you don't do it anyway. So just make sure you have 2 really, really good layers. And then in the last 2 layers, it's edges and ends with mechanical, erasing out highlight, and then adding back in a textured layer on top. Hold on, let me do where that flows underneath that piece. Oh, it's hard to see, sorry. There we go. Shiny. And I feel like this is too much along this side, like it's too different. I'm going to touch blend a little bit just to soften the texture. So you can soften the texture a little bit. All right, you guys get the idea. The more you layer it, better it looks. Honestly, like if I would like blend over this again, I would erase that again. I would do another layer with mechanical. But do what you have time for, what you have patience for, but at least do 2 really, really good layers of the texture. Erase out highlights, do another layer back in with 6B texture, and then edges and ends with mechanical. All right, have fun.